Alright, so what's up guys? Stephen Bogrand here from Pro Physique. Today what I want to talk about is how to be successful while dieting and traveling. Alright guys, so I actually went and took a trip myself this past weekend. We drove up to Savannah, Georgia, had a great time, went out to the beach. It was we were staying in the historical Savannah district over there by the downtown and the Riverwalk. It was just kind of a really cool trip, very last minute, like let's get out of town, let's go have a good time and enjoy ourselves. And so that's kind of what sparked the idea to be doing this video today, talking about staying on track while traveling. Because there's no reason that we shouldn't be able to go out to travel, to see the world, to have a good time, to enjoy our lives. But depending where we're at within our dietary goals and where we're at within maybe a contest prep, it's very important that we are aware of what we need to do and how to go about it when we're out traveling. So I think the first and foremost thing that we want to know and we want to deal with is knowing and understanding very well where we are at with our current goals. I am prepping for a show. Driving, 6-7 hours each way is a lot of time invested. That means that it makes it more difficult for me to go out and get my cardio in. That means I need to make sure that my lifting sessions have all been in, and that means that I need to make sure that within that car ride I have enough macros for things like Quest bars, or I have a meal prepped that I can eat cold in the car on the way there. So understanding those things is going to be first and foremost your number one thing that you need to do. If you're in an off season and you've reversed out and you're far away from having done a show or doing a show, you're just trying to get stronger and improve, that makes it a little bit easier. If you're towards the beginning of a fat loss phase, again, that makes it easier. You still have that much more room to work with in terms of what you're going to have available to you with your macros and your calories to consume on that trip. When it gets difficult and when you really need to plan harder is when you're towards the end of a fat loss phase, or you're, a month, 2 months out from a show. At this point, now it becomes imperative that you've planned your meals and you've planned your trip out a bit better. Because yes, there are definitely some things that you can do to work around, but leaving things up to chance is not how we are successful in preps, okay? It's not how we are successful when we get on stage. Leaving things up to chance leaves a lot of room for error and failure. So for those of you who are closer to a show or in the hard part of a diet, it is important that you plan out as best as possible. Now, if that means using meal services, you use the meal service. Make sure that you do the right things to set yourself up for success. If that means utilizing things like protein bars, or going out to the restaurants and making sure that you order something like broccoli, no butter, chicken not cooked in butter, side of veggies, those sorts of things, then that is what you need to be doing, because your current goals are going to dictate that needs to happen. So, first and foremost, understand where you're at. Secondly, how do we stay successful on vacation, right? So, where I find that most people really go over, honestly, is there's two parts to it. One is eating out. You can be successful and still eat out. There are a couple ways to do it. First and foremost is to be wise about what you choose. Again, if you have a lot of calories, it's not necessarily as big of a deal, but it's something to still consider based on your overall calorie goals. So be wise, estimate, If you have a Belgian waffle, there are a lot of other Belgian waffle ideas that you could use on things like MyFitnessPal or other tracking apps to be at least close to whatever that specific restaurant is using. Okay? So estimating, making wise choices, understanding where your macros are at, that's number one. Number two is continuing to make wise choices and doing things like ordering vegetables for a side or asking them not to cook something in butter. Maybe go for the grilled option as opposed to the fried option if you're low on calories or worried about your calories for the day. So those are all some very simple ways in which you can still be successful while eating out. A lot of times what I see is we're on vacation, it's the effort mentality, and so what we do is we kind of go hard in the paint, and it's like, oh, what's up, I'm gonna have the biscuits and the marmalade, I'm gonna get the fried chicken, I'm gonna get the biscuits and gravy, like, I'm just gonna go hard. You probably realize that there are some southern options there. We were in Savannah and I chose not to do so. Self-control is a hell of a thing. I will not lie though, I definitely got a couple bites of some of the other people's stuff. But that being said, what is the second main thing that I think makes it very easy to stay on track with your weight loss goals over a vacation? Staying active. So one of the things we did is we did like a pub crawl, right? So we went out and we went walking around from downtown Savannah from bar to bar to bar to bar. Now, you don't have to get a drink at every bar, right? You don't have to get a drink at all if you don't want to, and depending where your calories are at, it might be beneficial for you to do something like drink a diet soda or a sugar-free Red Bull. Something that's going to be low in calorie intakes. Still looks like you're drinking, nobody can tell, but you're not using up your calories. So that's number one for drinking. Number two on that one is that it keeps you active. The more you are out and about, the more walking around, hiking, running, jumping, being active, touristing the area, the more energy you expend. We call that NEAT, or non-exercise active thermogenesis, right? So the more NEAT you have, the more calories you burn throughout the day. Now remember, normally if you're at home, and if you're like me, you're behind a desk most of the day, you're sitting down, you're writing stuff up, you're responding to people, your NEAT is honestly probably pretty low. So that increase in that non-exercise active thermogenesis or energy expenditure gives you more wiggle room with things like eating out, right? Or making food work because you don't necessarily have 100% control. So these are easy options to help you out so that you're still on track. One of the other really cool things that has come up lately in the past few years are the Airbnbs, okay? So essentially you're renting a house instead of just an apartment or just a hotel room, right? Because an apartment would be fine too. But what that means is now you have an entire kitchen, you have a refrigerator, you can go to the grocery store and go shopping. You are now 100% in control of the diet if you want to eat in all the time. And so the Airbnbs can be a huge win in terms of being out and about, traveling, and still being successful and on point with your macros and your nutritional goals. But I think the most important thing is to keep sight of your goals. Remember that a vacation is not just an opportunity to say F it. It is a break from the norm, okay? It is the opportunity to get away from the things that are stressing you out, to see some new things, to experience some new things in life. But remember, it is fleeting. It only lasts a set amount of time. So we want to make sure that we keep our eyes on the fact that we still have lives to come back to. We still have goals to come back to. So we don't want to set ourselves back too far in terms of those goals. The last thing I'm going to end on with this is the drinking, all right? So going out to eat, yes, is a big one. Alcohol is very calorie dense. The only thing more calorically dense is fats. So fats are 9 calories per gram. Alcohol is 7 calories per gram. It is very, very easy to really tally up that calorie intake when we're out drinking, especially if we're drinking a little bit more or quite a bit more than we would normally drink. Now, that is even compounded by the fact if we're drinking things like margaritas or rum and cokes or things with all these very high calorie sugary mixers as well. So forget about the hangover. Understand that you can easily add an extra 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 calories a night just from your alcohol intake. So being wise with your alcohol intake is also another way and probably one of the most important ways for a lot of younger people to be successful with calorie and macro goals while out on vacation. So if you don't know how to count and account for calorie intake from alcohol, I have other videos out on it. If you're a client of mine, I will happily explain it to you one-on-one. But keeping alcohol consumption within control and moderate is going to be one of the big parts of also coming home and still being on track with your weight. But anyways, guys, those are just a few of my simple tips to stay successful with your weight loss and dieting goals while out on vacation. I hope you enjoyed it. I know it's been a little while since I got a video out, but we're back on the grind, so let's get to it. Have a great rest of the week, everyone.